Borderless Talks. It's brought to you by Serviap Global.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Borderless Talks, your monthly podcast where we dive into the latest trends of global hiring, international business solutions, and workforce strategies. I am your host, Ahtziri Gutiérrez, directly from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and I'm happy to report that, again, as usual, we have a really interesting topic. Today, we're going to talk about the advancements of remote work and global collaboration regarding the industry of employers of record, especially when it comes to the woman's point of view, because this month, we're going to keep working with the celebration of International Women's Day. To help us with this topic, we have an amazing guest, Brenda Limón. Brenda is the co-founder of Quadlux and currently a global advisor of Serviap Global. Over the years, she's become a top provider of remote and contingent workforce solutions, specializing in employer of record around the world. Welcome, Brenda. Tell us, how are you doing today? Welcome to the show. Where are you right now?
Hi, Ahtziri. Lovely to see you, first and foremost, and then lovely to hear you in Guadalajara. I'm so jealous because I love Guadalajara, love the weather. I'm currently in Minnesota in the United States. Very cold, still cold. Spring has not sprung, but I'm Mexican myself. I'm from Monterrey, from the north. And well, thank you. Yes, as you said, I'm, very lucky to have, come to this point in my life where I, with partners in crime, we've founded Quadlux. We've been operating, recently. However, it is truly, and I want to say, how I said when you raise a kid, it takes a village. It has, taken a village to get to this point. Not only in the sense, evidently, of working with different companies, evidently such as Serviap, which, it has been, a consistent element in my life for some reason or another. Other companies as well, clients, partners, evidently being as well, not only, as I've said, player in the industry, but collaborating in very, different instances with players in the industry, evidently absorbing knowledge from everyone, being blessed because it's truly a blessing meeting beautiful minds in the space that, build up to beautiful solutions for clients. Personally, I've been a recipient of, particularly the employer of record solution in my life, being able to work for a company, established in a different location and evidently giving me the possibility to work in the country where I was located, having, work-life balance because I'm a mother of 4, 3 human and a dog.
My God.
Exactly. So, evidently, definitely very, very lucky to be in this position. And well, thank you for having me today.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you here and joining us as our guest. Before going to our main topic, and you right now told us a little bit about you, but can you tell us maybe how did your role as a global advisor in Serviap Global came to be?
Funnily enough, part of my career in EOR, was with Serviap. I worked, with the company in past, lives as well, getting to know evidently the service, getting to know other partners in the industry. And as I've said, in different roles, Serviap has always been, present either as a partner, as a solution option, for a client. And now again, as evidently co-founder of my company as well. Anything that is evidently Latin America, Serviap Global knows in spades. And evidently I've seen the growth of the company. Now they're global. Now there's a huge portfolio of countries offered. And again, due to the experience that I with other companies and other remote, teams, Now I'm able, it kind of becomes, full circle, to support certain projects, or, some initiatives from a global perspective. And yeah, so happy again to collaborate. I, always consider Serviap, a friend, and it's friends helping friends, right? So,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah, we're happy to
participate.
have your our advisor actually. And you just said about Quadlux, that is an international HR solutions company. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Maybe how that you came to be a co-founder and what exactly did you do there? And everything you want to say about it, just let us know.
Sell it. I mean, of course I want to sell it, but more than anything, how I want to, again, sell it up to a certain way, because I've been, again, very lucky and blessed that I've been able to operate in very different roles, in very, different size companies, that again, back to the very different clients, and hence evidently I have a bit in my, portfolio of experience, very different areas of the business, mainly operational, but, at sales, implementation, operation, offboarding, dotted line to, certain, finance aspects, and developing a lot of things for, companies. Again, in the very lucky position to, interact with, teams, manage teams, and honestly, you learn from everything, from everyone. And again, I got to a point in my life where I said, you know what? I think it's time I can do it on my own. And not in the being another player in the industry. It's more of, evidently a cohesive partner, able to advise, able to find a solution, able to, provide it as well. We have our own entity in the UK, and we're incorporated there. But again, because we know a lot of people, we know a lot of providers, very different areas of, global HR, and we're able to say, hey, if we don't know it, we'll find it for you. Or if we don't have it, we'll make sure you get it. And again, a bit of the spirit of, friends helping friends. We literally say we operate with lux, with loyalty, understanding, and experience. And we truly do. Definitely building strong relationships. We've been very surprised that, again, friends in our network from, the 3 co-founders, reaching out like, hey, we have these, maybe we can work something out. And it truly, again, as I said, it takes a village, but, I think we're getting to a point where exactly we're able to offer, different solutions. So.
Yeah, now that you're talking about collaboration within your company and within your partners, I would like to start with one of our main topics. And right now, the way companies used to manage international talent has changed dramatically over the years. We know why exactly. But in the past, establishing a presence in a new country meant navigating a complex web of legal, tax, and employment regulations, often requiring months or even years of preparation. Today, thanks to the agents like Employer of Record, businesses can hire talent across borders quickly, compliantly, and efficiently. With remote work, digital tools, and increasingly interconnected workforces, companies now have unprecedented access to talent pool worldwide. As you said, and as we know, right now, you in Quadlux and we in Serviap Global work with companies around the world, and these have like the need to hire people remotely. And from your experience, how have you seen the global collaboration change with the rise of EOR services?
But listen, hey, it will reveal a little bit about my age, but I started working remotely probably, I want to say 25 years ago, when it wasn't even a remote work concept recognized abroad, but and this was back in Mexico. I would be working, yes, at an office, but tending to global sites. So it has been, and from there on, everything in my life has been remote. So for me, exactly, seeing it not only as an individual, always, collaborating remotely, as you say, it now brings evidently really acknowledging that there's talent everywhere. What your company wants to do, how they want to do it, where do they want to go, at what speed. Is it, again, strategic? Because, you know what? And of course, us being, Latin American. Hey, I'm interested in Latin America because I'm proud of it. We have, very talented individuals in very, specific areas. So why wouldn't a company want to evidently expand here? So definitely, for sure, accessibility, there's diverse talent pools. And more than anything, when it comes to EOR, what I've seen evidently, the EOR has morphed into, initially it was just like, how do I get there? Kind of compliant. What laws? I don't know anything about the country. You help me hire these people, like my people. And now, it feels like clients evidently much more informed now, and, information now being out there for everyone. And with so many players in the industry, of course, it's more of a intentional partnership. Like, how strategically are you going to partner with me to minimize risk, to make sure that I have, a cost efficient, expansion, a diverse and inclusive footprint. I want to make sure, and, again, coming back to the topic of, women, I have, a lot of women in on my team. How do I make sure that they are supported, that maternity leave is cohesive around the world. But furthermore, not only women as, just as human beings, like that everyone has, again, work-life balance, and the annual leave policy is consistent across the board, that no one feels that they are short change in terms of benefits. And now evidently even more perks, well-being, for example, pet insurance, something that 20 years ago I didn't even know it existed. And now it's, what? Now that exactly that I have, my fourth son, that would be, a brilliant perk. And again, companies, have to look at that. So I've seen that kind of shift from just how do I do it, compliantly, to how do I do it with all of these, policies and very strategic footprint across.
Yeah. There's this thing that I was thinking when I started working remotely, that was like, some countries have like more vacations than Mexico, for example. And I was like, oh my God, how do a company can make everyone feel like they have like the same perks, when other countries have so many different, vacations, policies that are in the law, and some other countries doesn't have any of that. Sometimes I wonder about that, especially with Colombia. But anyways, just some thoughts that I was having. What do you think yeah. What do you think are the biggest drivers of this transformation? It could be maybe technology, remote work, regulatory changes, or maybe something else.
I mean, yeah, it's everything. And no, I don't want to say nothing, because it's, of course, everything. Remote work has, for sure, and evidently with the pandemic, it shifted a lot of things. It proved for certain industries that, you didn't have to be on site to be efficient, to give, results. Evidently, there's this constant right now, like, let's go back to the office or not. And it's really up to, again, certain companies to, evidently what's the best for them. I respect, but evidently I've been remote for so long. And again, managed global teams. For me, I don't see truly, I wouldn't exactly think of going back to an office. It's life changing. Back to again, mother perspective. It has given me, absolute, tool or not tool, the space and time to raise my kids, to, manage things at home, to have, evidently my life, a career progression, because it's not only career, there's, sometimes we see like, oh, I can only get to this point. Here we see a lot of, women getting stuck potentially in middle, level positions and, getting to the next level. I experienced exactly, but again, remote work, it's a little bit of a kind of double-sided, sword. It provides exactly, flexibility and all these things, but as well and potentially is the industry. And I don't want to speak about something that I don't know. On site, sometimes people are like, oh no, because they're coming to the office, there's more opportunity, or there's, opportunity to have conversations about leadership and growth. But I think it's evidently what's the intention of the company, how they want to grow in a way that truly aligns to the way, evidently the world is, evolving to, and how as well, younger professionals are, they want to have exactly, work-life balance, and, but still have a career. And I absolutely think it's manageable. It truly is.
Yeah, I think that from younger people, it's like a normal thing to look for in a job place, like the work-life balance. And sometimes remote work is what facilitates that the most. But as a business become more borderless, what challenges still exist in global hiring and workforce management? Because we have good things, but we have also some challenges that could happen in these settings.
You know what? It's a little bit of going back to the basics. One, laws are constantly changing. That's a fact. Or if it's not laws, it's, in terms of, for example, payroll cost, social security charges are changing. And that's everywhere. The global, landscape is every day. It's every day changing. The constant is change, actually. So in terms of that, it already becomes a challenge, right? Not every company has an area that is okay. What's the new in, Mexico? ChatGPT tell me. And this is where, EOR or, companies in the industry are like, I've got you. This is what has happened, right? This is how we can do it. Let's use it. Now remote work requires, the employer to do this, to provide an ergonomic chair, and all these things. And it's like, okay, for your expansion in Mexico, bear in mind for 2025, we're going to have to give this, and, again, build a footprint. The other thing, and again, very basic, and even from just human nature, cultural and operational challenges. Again, cultural. What's in Mexico, I don't know, we start super early and we have, a long break or, whatever little nuances that as well you can get communication styles. Please, please tell me good morning first and ask about my, a kids kind of thing. I love that. But as well, a little bit, it's from an individual, but, I've definitely experienced clients asking like, hey, how do I do it in Latin America? What do you recommend, to do, for example, when negotiating, salary in Mexico or in Argentina? What is it? Should we do it over coffee? If I go there, what should I expect? Should I offer these? That it may be obvious, but it truly, there has to be a deliberate effort of, kind of understanding your global teams. The other thing is, just what we were discussing, compensation and kind of benefits. Like, hey, why doesn't my teammate has, like 28 days of public holidays and we have 14 only, like that little, it's again, you know what, if you want to expand these and your areas are going to be, let's say, UK, Mexico, I'm using UK because of Quadlux. You know what, public holidays, this is the difference. Annual leave, it looks like this. Exactly. There could be potentially a conversation, an awkward conversation of why my team having, 20 days of leave when I only have 12 or whatever it is. Which EOR, exactly, partners need to tell the client, listen, this is what's going to happen. We can help you either kind of build, again, cohesive policy or at least advise, that this is going to happen, right? And the other thing I see as well, again, and it's truly, a lot of conversation, the sense of belonging. I've always said, and some of, if my, former colleagues in other companies see these, they will for sure hear it again. But I've always said there's closeness in remoteness, the sense of belonging, of making, remote workers feel like they belong, and, taking it a step further, workers that are engaged through EORs, sometimes they're not evidently in the same payroll system or like on the Slack of the company or classified, in a different way. And they're like, oh, well, I do work for this company, but am I not part of them, or what's going on? That's a continuous challenge. And again, it takes a deliberate effort in saying, hey, you're part of this team, and you're wearing the t-shirt. I would say, a football reference, wearing the t-shirt, you're part of this team. Evidently you are getting hired through an entity, to be compliant, to make sure everything you need in your country to, to perform this work. But again, that's still, some of the challenges of like, hold on, it's not my worker, it's not my worker. And the worker feeling like they don't belong.
Yeah, of course. So, because maybe we work together, but we don't talk about normal stuff of life. You just talk to people about work, and you don't get the sense of maybe partnership more than just someone to ask for something. Yeah.
Of course. And it really, again, the culture, how the culture is managed. I mean, maybe they don't want to throw names out there, a lot of names, but, I was a part of a company where the owners did, and it was a very, very conscious effort in making sure that everyone felt, part of the group. We experienced the pandemic together, and it was like, hey, let's have these, fun meetings on, Friday, have a little coffee exactly in the morning, just casual, little 10, 15 minutes of casual conversation. Exactly. Just to, okay, and funnily enough, that group, we're still in contact. We're still friends, true friendships, came out of that group. So I repeat, like, there's closeness in remoteness, but there's still, I see some still having, experiencing those challenges.
Of course. And that is the way we are like right now. But do you see that the role of EORs could be evolving a different way in the next 5 years, maybe?
Well, 100%. Well, now evidently there with AI, I'm sure something is exactly. It's already shifting, and it's of course going to just escalate more and more. But as I said, kind of this strategic planning aspect, instead of only I want to hire this person, is like I want to do it in a way that again that is cohesive with this benefit plan, with inclusion, with diversity. I'm sure evidently you're hearing more and more countries now are advocating for, again, pay transparency to minimize, pay gaps between colleagues and all these things.
Yeah.
And that's another aspect. I worked with a client and honestly, it was just something that slipped their mind, but, they were offering different salaries for, people with the same role. Accidentally, they didn't notice. And again, as EOR, we were like, okay, hold on, stop the process. What's going on here? We just want to understand, is it truly a, difference in activity? Potentially the job description was wrong. What happened? And it was like, oh, sorry, we really didn't even notice. It kind of slipped, like I said, is it a range? What's going on? Potentially, they consider an aspect of experience when recruiting, like when searching for the candidates. And it truly was a human mistake, nothing but, again, kind of being the strategic partner. Hold on, we're going to stop this right now. Let's make sure that you're not going into a situation where you are not offering, again, the same salary for the same role in different, locations and all these things. Again, as a strategic partner, that's the way I see EORs evolving. How the talent is distributed. Risk management is an element that I constantly talk about, with my colleagues, with my clients, with ER friends, everyone in the business. It's always kind of preempt everything, with your client. Give them the bad, give them the ugly, give them the, everything so that they truly understand where what they're getting into. And in the past, again, one of, my, mentors, I consider him, mentor and friend, say, hey, they're taking a leap of faith with us. And again, they truly are. It's investment of money. It's investment of time. It's effort. So make sure that you kind of deliver the entire message when you're starting the relationship. Again, for the next steps and the entire operation and all the engagements to flow in a better cadence. So I definitely see that. The other thing is a shift in what you were saying, like, potentially they're having professionals that they just want to work, 6 months in countries because they want to kind of move around. So shift in that for sure. Instead of long-term engagements, they're shifting to, I just want a year contract or a year and a half or 6 months or whatever it is. And how does that play into the legislation? Because evidently, and you and I, being from Mexico, we know, right? Like Mexico has, a fixed term and then it goes into an indefinite contract, right? So it's like, okay, hold on, we can do it this way, but then it comes with this. So a
like
little
a
bit
temporary,
of that. And the other thing, I mean, I'm a bit of a purist, but evidently we see a lot of technology built around EOR and HR companies. Beautiful platforms. I've seen, quite a number of platforms and interact with companies that have, and I just kudos to those IT teams and, developers, because they're beautiful, beautiful platforms. Again, they make everything pretty fast. But, I do believe still that this is evidently a service that is for people, by people, through people, and it's just a human experience. Hence the consultative piece, the having, the very, very, kind of one-on-one in-depth conversation, works wonders. And then evidently you can leverage technology. But I still see that piece coming back. Clients saying, you know what? I went into this thinking that the technology would solve my headaches. It didn't. And in the end, I do need a human. And I need a human that knows. And I need a human that can solve it for me. And I don't want to talk to a, kind of mailbox or whatever it is. I need a person to tell me what's going on. So a little bit of that. Yes, technology. Absolutely. I'm like the advocate and as well. When I've had the chance to provide feedback or to support, tests or, on platforms. Always happy to share, bits and pieces of what could work. But I still see that element of companies of all sizes, mind you, saying, hey, well, yes, this is wonderful for the, quick little things, but I still want to have a conversation. I still need a call. Can we connect? So
Yeah,
I see that definitely will to, continue in the next 5 years.
of course. I mean, 5 years could be a lot of time and a lot of things can change. But from here, we can see like beyond and maybe see the future to what maybe yet to come. Well, beyond compliance, how can companies use EOR partnerships to build stronger, more collaborating global teams?
I mean, it's the opportunity for me. I always say, and I'm very casual about it, but literally the world is your oyster. Where do you want to go?
Of course.
What is it exactly? Is it, or again, what's your service or product and an EOR? And we can advise evidently, okay, for example, technology. Hey, this country has right now is booming in, engineers for this particular or clients that already have their talent identified, or evidently the element of cost. That's no secret that, sometimes there's locations where the cost center is, evidently much more efficient and they want to leverage that. The flexibility, back to the flexibility that it provides. And truly, if you have a partner, company, an ER company that can do it for you, can do it well, can do it quickly, knows what they're doing, why wouldn't you? And again, I'm always like, hey, definitely 2 heads are better than one. Collaborate, bring the best, to your strategy, to grow, faster and better, right?
Yeah, of course. Well, now I would like to hear your commentaries on another important discussion, which is gender diversity and inclusion. We know that gender equity and equality at work has been ongoing debate for a long time. We have advanced and passed through so many stages, but there's still an enduring gender pay gap around the world. The domestic space, which used to be traditional, correlated with women's role in society, is once again dramatically changed with the boom of work from home culture. Now, on one side, studies and statistics show that remote work has created new career opportunities with this, of course. In such cases, more women migrated to this work from home status than men. On the other side, reports show that gender inequality is not only still present in remote settings, but women who work from home experience even wider pay gap according to pay scale, for example. As a woman working remote and for remote collaborations, how do you interpret this scenario?
How I mentioned, there's this kind of remote work has double-edged sword, right? Because on one side, and again, using my example, I don't want to speak for, for other women or even more so other remote workers. It's giving me, again, the ability to be, handle my kid, raise my kids, manage my career and all these things. But challenging as well, because when you're at home, the line of activity kind of blurs because you have the computer here and it's if I don't answer, will they think that I'm not interested? And it's like, okay, no, I'll go and answer the email. Or if they ask me, for all, I'll do it because I do want to be present. And the other thing is, when there's, for example, and that's been my case where companies where they're able to get together for some reason and I'm the one remote, you feel that you're not present. Potentially they're leaving you opportunities. There's a slower career progression because you're not the one, chatting to the team in person and, building that daily rapport. So it's depends on how which side do you see it, right? Probably, and I don't want to say probably, but kind of it gave me a little push and motivation as well to go into, this adventure of Quadlux and founding the company with my business partners. It's that, like, hey, women together, we're invincible. Exactly. We want to make sure that we are setting a precedent, not only in the industry, but furthermore to, younger colleagues as well. I personally have, a daughter, and I do want to to make sure that she has, this sample of, my mother went and did it, chased it. And again, I'm, let alone, again, probably the Mexican in me coming out, but I kind of don't register, this is first, I don't register, I just see talent. I don't want to say I don't see the person, but I just see talent, and I want to make sure that that talent is recognized.
Of course.
As they should be paid, nurtured. For me, there's nothing more rewarding than seeing, colleagues progress, potentially, company to grow, and like I always say, spread their wings. So again, exactly. Pay gap exists. Yes. But I think it starts little. What are you going to do about it? More than, I don't want to blame anybody. It's what are you going to do about it? So one, as a company, do not fall into, paying, indiscriminately. And the other one is if you are in a position where you can advise companies to create, robust policies, do it. Make sure, I said, talk to your client. What are you doing? Not discriminate. Like, what is this gap? Make sure, have these conversations with your clients of, hey, let's do it. And it's inserting planting those seeds across the board.
Where you can.
I see it more like that because evidently, there's a lot happening, things that I don't even see, but where Quadlux and, myself, we can make a little effort to improve that situation. I think that's a good start.
Yeah, I love that. And how do factors like visibility, promotion opportunities, and work-life balance contribute to the disparity between men and women?
Again, exactly. I don't want to get too much in the weeds. I'm going to talk more a little about again, the remote work element. Because again, as a remote worker and as a mother, for sure, sometimes not being able to be in an office potentially could impact. But again, this industry, and again, I've been very lucky. EOR is very remote. And again, what should we have, those conversations with clients of, hey, avoid that. But I do see evidently, potentially what I mentioned, some of my women colleagues just getting stuck up to a certain level in a company and just there, and evidently companies having the executive team, being dominated by men. Again, it's what are you going to do about it? Found a company and be the executive kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as well, being able to articulate, the message correctly with, again, with counterparts of do not see gender, see the talent. Someone as well, I asked someone like, hey, I see that your team is, predominantly women. Is that something that happened by accident? Is that something that you pursued? What happened? And they said, no, kind of it's talent. And it happened that the talented, candidate was, a woman. And
Yeah.
I was, one, very proud because then there was a lot of talented people for those roles. But the other thing, exactly, simply, and that's how I live my life. I just see a human, again, let's make sure that everyone is, developed, nurtured, cared for, in the same way.
Okay. When we talk about remote work, we're also talking about international opportunities, which means dealing with different cultures, as we already said, regulations, as we already said again, and context. This for sure has an effect on women's rights at work. We're talking about different legislation of maternity leave, discrimination at work, inclusion initiatives, and so on. For instance, while countries like Russia, India, and Australia offer 18 or more weeks of obligatory maternity leave, other countries regulate from 70 to 12 weeks, maybe. In some cases, like the United States, the maternity leave regulated by the government is even smaller. How does the variation of maternity leave policies worldwide impact hiring and retention of global companies?
Well, let's use maternity leave as we're talking about it. One is companies that do not have, and again, global companies. Locally, it's harder to speak about it because evidently, if you're in one single country, if you follow the law for everyone within the country, it's standard. However, if you have remote teams and you want to localize that benefit, it's definitely a little bit more challenging. One, as a provider, advising your client, hey, you're going to have potentially, evidently, better retention. There's for sure candidates that are looking for, generous maternity leave benefits. And evidently, the other thing is, again, we're not going to have these awkward conversations during, normal days of, hey, my colleague had 4 weeks or whatever it is. I'm only, or, 16 weeks or 18 weeks or whatever it is, whilst I'm only having this. It evidently, again, makes everyone feel, welcomed and cared for in the same way.
Of course.
So, I do see that advising as a provider, advising clients like, hey, what is your maternity leave policy? Let me share. Where are you growing? Why? Because India has this, Mexico has this, make it something more cohesive because it will translate into X, Y, and Z benefit, right? And evidently, of course, we're factoring in all the costs related, but truly from a kind of long trend, you can see that companies that have, generous global policies, there's not a lot of rotation.
Of course.
Employees are much more committed. They stay or they want to belong to that company, right? So from that perspective, again, making sure that the clients know what to do, where they're going, being that strategic partner helps.
Yeah, well, this is something we have been talking about this whole conversation, but of course I like the idea to start the conversation to begin with, for example, the companies you work with, and also letting them know that these gaps exist not just between genders, but between countries. So if you want to work with a lot of people from around the world, you have to take this kind of stuff in mind, because it's not just having these people to work with you, but also create a team, create a group of people that are not just workers, but partners in crime, for example. And realizing these differences between one another could be like disencouraging, maybe, because it's like, oh, I just have these kind of weeks for my baby that is coming soon, but this coworker of mine from another country have more opportunities to have more days or weeks or months with their newborn. So yeah, I like what you're saying about, first of all, starting the conversation, and second of all, making the company know that these things exist, because sometimes maybe companies are just thinking of well, their daily needs of the company, but not necessarily these differences. So maybe they don't see it, as you said. Maybe one don't see it either. So having someone to tell you, hey, this exists. Hey, you have these differences between women and men in the same country with they have this pay gap. So take that in mind for this not to be a discussion later where you look wrong, or I don't know. So yeah, I like what you said about this. But I think it's obviously important, but let's have this pointed out. What is the importance of actions for gender equity as well as diversity, equality, and inclusion planning in global companies, regardless of minimal local regulations, as we already said? Yeah.
Yep, for sure. I mean, as I said, evidently, there's reduced turnover. People want to continue to work with a company that is, and again, back to my point of course, evidently I'm an, advocate for women as a woman myself. But more than anything, I'm an advocate for humanity, because,
Of course,
again, it could be evidently, a different group like this. What do we do to get to a place where diversity is not even an element? It should be inherent to a company. It's not only evidently women, it's, other groups, other benefits that need to be incorporated to make sure that everyone has the same rights, same opportunities, same everything. For me, more than anything, it's that as an individual, what are you going to do to get to a place where it feels exactly that everyone has a seat, to the table, and how this Lancelot to the round table to make sure that everyone is on equal terms. That's what I love for all companies to have a round table. And, so that's definitely it. Higher, of course, productivity. Happy employees, happy company, happy clients. That as well. When you're happy, at a company, sometimes, how these companies saying, hey, there's this role, referral programs. People want to bring over contacts, because evidently, so it's scalable. Yeah. It's everyone, of course, it's motivational. It's no secret that when someone is happy, they are delivering at a higher level, evidently transmitting positivity around. Good things bring good things. So, that's for sure. Yeah.
Okay, from the years of experience that you have working, have you seen more participation of women in the work field since remote work is start existing?
Definitely. As I was saying, I've been working for a long time. When I started, really, I was in education first, again, with an international, scope. Education, and I want to speak about Mexico because I don't want to talk something that I don't know enough. Mainly, of course, dominated by women, again, up to a certain level. Executives were male. I was very lucky that at the time there were these kind of, I want to say, pioneers of women getting, and this at the higher education in Mexico. It's, it's challenging, it's expensive. So not only, let alone graduating from university, it was getting a master's degree, and in some instances having a doctorate degree, right? So, few women getting up to that degree and having, a door to an executive level. So I was, again, lucky to work with such women, and again, having that motivation of, go and pursue, the MBA, which I did. And I was, again, very lucky because I already had my first child when I did my master's. And then moving into the, international HR and, EOR and all this, again, there's a lot of women colleagues. I do see it still. Evidently, some executives are still men. However, I evidently have seen as well, and we are, in humanity perspective, seeing men support women, bring them over, giving them the space to share, recognizing talent as opposed to recognizing, mentioning gender even. So evidently there's still work to be done. I'm inspired by a lot of women that I've met over, certain years that have, that are the CEOs of, their companies. I do want a little shout out there, to IES, Cara Herzog. She was, kind of instrumental right now in, as well, giving me kind of the, hey, go for it, pursue it, do it. Mm-hmm. She is, president at IES, and the beautiful team of, a lot of female, women executives. So again, you get, you run into these companies and these people, and, you get motivated, and it's again, what are you going to do, about it to make sure that, more women are present, and eventually, deliver results, and again, set a precedent, right?
Well,
and thank you. I see your time. Look.
No, yeah. It was a really interesting conversation. Do you have anything to add about any of these topics, or do you just want to tell us where people can contact you maybe?
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much. Very, very happy to be with you today. Nothing, again, make sure exactly we spread, how EOR and international HR solutions can truly make a difference, for growth. Quadlux, you can find me at, Brenda at quadlux.net. So we're here to help, but as well, hey, if we're with Serviap Global, reach out to Serviap Global.
Yeah,
they can help as well.
We're really happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us today. And for everyone that is listening or watching, thank you. You can, look for us on social media at Serviap Global. We are in LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you're only listening this and in Spotify or maybe Amazon Music, remember that you can watch the full conversation on YouTube. Also find us as Serviap Global. So thank you so much, Brenda, for being here. We were happy to have you in this conversation and in this episode. And, well, if you want to hear more about us, remember that every month we have a new episode of Borderless Talks. See you next time. Bye.
Borderless Talks. It's brought to you by Serviap Global.